welcoming to the stage Future of Defense reporter and author of the newsletter, Colin Demarest.
Hi. What's up, everyone? It's good to see you this morning. I'm Colin Demarest, the new author of the Axios Future of Defense newsletter. I'm pumped y'all can make it out here and navigate and survive the NATO traffic. I know that can be a bear. We're commemorating the newsletter launch here today. It comes out every Wednesday morning, and if you're not signed up already, I'm kind of angry about that, but you can go to axios.com/newsletters to do so. Our next guest today has been a fierce advocate on the Hill for defense and foreign policy matters. Please welcome to the stage Chairman of the U.S. House Committee on Foreign Affairs, Congressman Michael McCaul.
Hey, McCaul. Thanks.
Chairman McCaul, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You were in Taiwan earlier this year. You just met with the Ukrainian president multiple times. And there are pressing questions about Israel's fight with Hamas and Hezbollah. With these wars and other potential flare-ups in the future, how can the U.S. arm and sustain both itself here at home and friends abroad? Is it doing a good enough job right now?
Let me say first, the world's on fire, and we have two hot wars, one hot zone in the Pacific. When I was in Taiwan, China basically staged a blockade, if you will, a prelude to war games as to what they would do. And our Indo-PACOM commander, I met with him to discuss their analysis of what was going on at the time. So it's getting very hostile. To give you some indication of how overburdened and overstressed our defense industrial base is, I signed off on all foreign military weapon sales. I signed off on 22 weapon sales going back 5 years. None of those have gone into Taiwan. So it's a serious problem. A lot of the older equipment we're putting into Ukraine, but as we're looking at what's happening with Israel and in the Middle East, and then we got the conflict in Eastern Europe with Ukraine, and then Indo-Pacific is a serious threat.
Short of you mentioned Taiwan, so let's go there real quick.
Yeah.
Short of a full-blown invasion and war there, what's your number one concern regarding them? Is it a blockade, a chips takeover, crippling cyber attacks, what?
It'd be all the above. I think they would, as I understand it, the plan would be to do essentially what they're doing, demonstrating when I was there, blockade, a massive cyber event to shut down the island, and then a massive artillery attack that would make the Iran attack on Israel look like it's like a kid's school. It would be really an overload, and we would have some capability to respond to that in the Pacific. The problem is Taiwan does not. My biggest concern is TSMC, and I've had
the chips folks.
So that'd be the semiconductor manufacturer. Had a tour. They manufacture 90% of the advanced semiconductor chips for the world. So imagine if the invasion occurs, it will either get blown up or it will not be able to sustain because of the maintenance that comes from ASML in the Netherlands and the United States, and it would shut down, and it would send the United States into an economic tailspin, the likes of which we've never seen. And that's why I introduced the CHIPS bill. Secretary Pompeo's idea, and it was to try to pull our supply chain with semiconductors out of Taiwan and into more less hostile areas, not vulnerable to China. And already in the United States, we've had about almost $500 billion return on our investment in the United States, but it's going to take time.
When you were over there, was there a palpable kind of frustration about the arms backlog? What was your takeaway there?
Yeah, it's hard, because I was there with President Tsai, the former president, and then now President Lai, and where are my weapons? I paid $19 billion, and it's hard to explain why it's taking so long.
How did you explain it? What was the reason?
It's very hard to do. I just said, it's overstressed, overburdened. But a lot of people don't realize that it's one of the biggest national security threats we have. is our ability to manufacture weapons on a timely basis.
How do you reinvigorate? How do you kind of inspire them to meet what's needed? Because it's consolidated for 3 decades, I think, and that raises real competition
you have
concerns.
the big primes, and they're always going to be around, but the big primes are like a big battleship. It takes a long time to turn the ship. What we need are maybe smaller, more innovative, efficient models. Anduril is a good example, not to pick out just one company, but they've done these drones that are really effective. They try to anticipate what does the defense industry need, and then they build it and sell it to the military rather than waiting for the military to determine what they need, then go through the procurement process, then the letter of agreement. All that stuff takes a long time, and then just to manufacture. Also, another problem are the machine shops. These little shops where they actually make the actual machine parts. So I think we're going to move into a new innovation of the industry that's going to be agile, more efficient, faster. That's what we need.
I don't think you meant to plug the newsletter, but we will be writing about that next week. So that's a nice, that's a very happy coincidence there. Let's stay in the Indo-Pacific. How do you see the relationships evolving between Iran, Russia, China, North Korea? And then on the flip side, what do future U.S. relationships look like in the same area?
So, Beijing Olympics, Putin visits Chairman Xi. This is after Afghanistan imploded. I know you had General Milley. He testified before my committee. Afghanistan implodes. Within a matter of months, Putin, the Russian Federation, moves down, invades Ukraine. I think a direct response from what happened in Afghanistan. Every time when you project weakness, you get aggression, conflict, and war. You project strength, you get peace. And so then we saw, the meeting 2 weeks before the invasion. She says, hey, can you wait until the Olympics are over before you do this? And then that's when they formed the Unholy Alliance, I call it.
Your words.
Yeah, I call it. I branded
That's what
that.
you've trademarked it, yes.
I didn't say Axis of Evil, a lot of people say. But it really is an unholy alliance. And the Ayatollah's a part of this, and so is Kim Jong-un. They're all in this together. And when we passed the supplemental, I told my colleagues, they're all in this together. I had a picture of all of them standing together. And they're very intertwined. In fact, China has revitalized Russia's military to a great extent. And it's a problem. I think we should have sanctions on China for doing that. They're exporting a lot of the machines to make the weapons.
NATO talked about that
Semiconductors
yesterday.
and technology.
Do you think sanctions are enough? I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot, but
it does. If they don't get enforced. I had to put the sanctions back on Iran for their energy. It's about $80 billion to China in energy. The drones and missiles that go into Israel and Ukraine. The administration didn't, they let those sanctions lapse, so we need to enforce that. But we have not been very good at enforcing the sanctions.
So you met with Prime Minister Modi in India, correct, recently?
Yeah.
He was photographed giving Vladimir Putin a hug the other day, and it made its rounds on Twitter, X, it's whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
What's your kind of gut reaction to that?
I don't like, I talked to him specifically about that. I said, if you want to buy American weapons, you got to get off this Russian dependency. They have bought old Russian military equipment that they need legacy parts to maintain, which I understand that, but I said, you cannot buy anything new from Russia or we're going to stop selling. I'll stop signing off on these weapons packages. They are part of the Quad. So I was with Undersecretary Kurt Campbell, who started this whole idea. They're really a great ally when it comes to China. They just have this old, it's an old alliance they've had with Russia that they're trying to break out of. But when he's hugging Putin, I don't like that image.
AUKUS is also in the region. Mm-hmm. I think top of mind for a lot of people are the submarines, but there's also Pillar 2, the advanced technology.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about that side of the deal or that side of the relationship?
This is a really, I think, the exciting breakthrough that I pressed really hard to get this on the National Defense Authorization Bill. Pillar 1 are the nuclear submarines. So you're talking about the United States, UK, and Australia.
Correct.
Pillar 2 is really fascinating because That's going to get you into AI, quantum, a lot of the advanced technologies.
Future of defense.
The future of defense industry. And it's a collaboration to get around these international, what we call ITAR, these international arms regulations. We're Five Eye countries. There's a trust there. The certification process, they wanted to make sure that UK and Australia had export control laws similar to ours. I think they've effectively passed that now. So I hope, it's my great hope that by August they will certify Pillar 2 officially. And I'm planning a trip over there with Undersecretary Campbell in August.
Okay, we're running a little short on time. I'm getting the flashing red light.
I'm trying to talk as fast as I can.
No, you're good, you're good. But I have a couple more things I want to hit on. As you mentioned, Mark Milley, the former Joint Chiefs Chairman, was up here earlier. Yeah. He has spoken about the Afghanistan withdrawal, a topic you and others are examining right now. What's the latest on the investigation?
Well, we have Jen Psaki coming in. I think Milley and McKinsey testified. They were very good with the families of Abbeygate. Families are very upset. I think you're going to find when our report comes out on the anniversary of the Abbeygate bombing that there was no plan until after Kabul fell. They didn't anticipate what was going to happen. The military, I think, got it right. When I got my DoD briefings and my IC briefings, they were all, first of all, they didn't even approve of this in the first place, of the evacuation. We had a very light footprint, 2,500 troops. I mean, we got 100,000 in Europe. We got like 30,000 in South Korea. We had 2,500 in Afghanistan, 6,500 in NATO, and it stabilized Afghanistan with the air power. Once that was gone, the whole thing implodes. Now the women have gone back to the Stone Age under Sharia law of the Taliban. And I think one of the most frightening things about it are the thousands of ISIS-K prisoners that were released from Bagram that have now made their way through the southern border into the United States. And I've got the classified briefing on this, so I have to be a little bit careful, but 8 of them got in. They used the CBP-1 app.
But they were caught, correct?
CBP-1 app, they were interviewed and released. A time later, the FBI, doing good work, caught up with them before they could get operational and shut them down. At the same time, there's an ISIS smuggling ring that has brought 400 people into this country, and we don't know what's going on.
We reported about the Jen Psaki interview about the pullout. Real quick, what are you hoping to get out of that conversation?
It's really the lies. Like we planned for every contingency.
By the administration?
Yeah. I mean, either they were tone deaf or, they were not getting fully briefed, or I don't know what was going on, but the public statements compared to what was happening on the ground at the time are so out of whack. And they don't add up. Like, oh, we're not going to have helicopters off the embassy like Vietnam. We plan for every contingency. It's going to be very orderly and efficiently. I didn't see that at Abbeygate. In fact, it was chaos. And the Americans left behind and the Afghan people that were murdered at the gates, and sadly, the women that now are under this horrible Taliban regime.
So a complete tonal pivot here, but we're out of time. One for the road, as Mike says. Favorite song, album, or artist?
Oh, God, you didn't. You really didn't.
I got a surprise answer to this the other day when they said, like, country pop. I thought I didn't think
No, well, I'm going to see Patty Griffin
I'm not a listener.
at the Birchmere tomorrow night, but she's from Austin, where I live. But I'm kind of I'm just kind of a Beatles, Rolling Stones, who kind of guy. I grew up in the...
I'll say Rolling Stones is better than the Beatles, and you guys can yell at me after the fact for saying that. So, Chairman McCaul.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.